I'm Philemon Dao Tom. I would like to greet all of you, the people of South Sudan. The reason that I want to make this video is to challenge the injustice and inequality that has been done by the government of South Sudan against the minority people, like Mabaan in Upper Nile State. We see the growing marginalization against the people of Mabaan in Upper Nile in terms of distribution of wealth that comes from the oil revenues. Most of you know the oil wells that are located in northeastern Upper Nile, mostly inside Mabaan land. And when it comes to the distribution of oil revenues, completely the Mabaan has been denied by the government of South Sudan, and Mabaan has been isolated and marginalized to get the benefit from the oil revenues. Some of the benefit that has been given to the county is just given as a Mabaan as a non-oil producing county, which is problematic and something that frustrated some of us, and we begin to question the inequality on the distribution of wealth that comes from the oil revenues. Most of you know, a few years ago, the government of South Sudan sent the Vice President James Waniga to the area to settle the tension between, Mabaan and our brothers Dinka in Malut. That involved the disputes about the area. And we know the isolations that Mabaan has been, isolated by the government of South Sudan. And we know the government of South Sudan is the factor of this destabilizations in our state. And we know the government of South Sudan is the machine of tribalization that we see whether in the people that are living around oil areas or in some parts of South Sudan. And that is unacceptable. We are not saying that the resources should be given to the people that are living in the oil area, but the respect that we are looking is the equality on the distribution of wealth. There is no point of justification that Mabaan should be given only as a non-oil producing county. Oil is inside Mabaan land, okay? And we know that why the marginalization happened against our people, because there is nobody in the government of South Sudan talks on behalf of Mabaan people. And the second thing is because Mabaan silence has been used against them. Mabaan, they are not a violent community like other Nilotic, tribes in Upper Nile State. Therefore, the government of South Sudan used our silence, to marginalize our people. But we are coming to the point that we need to talk about it, and that's why you see I'm posting this video to challenge that. Oil or petroleum is inside Mabaan land, and there is no point that Mabaan should be given as a non-oil producing county. This is an injustice by itself, and that injustice should not go without notice, and that is why I'm challenging this. The government of South Sudan should stop, marginalizing Mabaan simply because they don't have anybody to speak on their behalf. That is unacceptable, So oil is a government is a South Sudanese resources. We don't have any problem with that. The government, if there is a government that can distribute wealth equally, nobody will talk about the oil. Oil is something that the government has to regulate. The government has to, make to elevate the life of South Sudanese. But we are not seeing that. What we see is a division of our tribes. What we see is a marginalization that, done against particularly the minority tribes like Mabaan people in Upper Nile State. And it frustrated us, some of us who are, see enough the injustice done to our people. So we are challenging this, and we need the government to correct this before it goes to the boiling point. The second thing is we also see the claims that the oil fields in Gelguk, which is, we call it a Ban-Ma-Offo, that is claimed by our brothers in Lumashuk. Yes, we have a historical background, the existence or relationship between Southern Mabaan and people living in counties like Gelguk and also Mayut. We lived together, but the claim that Belguk is something that belonged to them, I think it is a lie. You know, Belguk, which is Ban-Ma-Offo, we call it Ban-Ma-Offo, it is mainly a Mabaan land. There is no point that our people, our brothers in Lumeshu claim that land. That land is a Mabaan land, and as I speak, Mabaan are living in that area. And it was occupied by some of our neighbors in 1997. Recently, it's a recent history. That doesn't, and Dr. Bishop knows this very well when he talked with Uncle Said Tera about how they're going to settle in that area. He knew that, but he doesn't want to tell the truth, you see. And that is the problem that we are going to address it in near future. And we want to sit down and tell them correctly that let's live in peace, but don't claim the land. Don't occupy the land that is not yours. We see the weakness point in the government of South Sudan. We see the marginalization. We see the isolation of our people simply because we don't have anybody to talk on their behalf or to protect the land of Mabaan by people that occupied it. So, but there will be a time that we will challenge that. As I'm speaking now, frustration is growing within the Mabaan people. That's why I try to give a tip of information that whatever is happening, the marginalization, the injustice done to our people is unacceptable, and we will not condone it anymore. We will challenge it in the point that if it leads us to ask for administrative area, let it be, because you cannot live with somebody who doesn't want to live peacefully with you, somebody who wants to control your resources in a way that it cannot help you. So we Mabaan are a peaceful people. We don't want problems. We want living in peace with our neighbors. But the government of South Sudan encouraging some of our neighbors to do some violence against our people, to control our land, to occupy it without telling the truth. And that is something is problematic. The reason that I'm saying that most of the land, Gelguk, which is Ban-Ma-Offo, in Mabaan, and also some of the oil fields in Western Mabaan, which is Odar, is inside Mabaan land. We have to go back to United Sudan when the oils were opened in the northeastern Upper Nile. The government of United Sudan then sent the Minister of Petroleum, and you can see they built a very permanent high schools in Mabaan, which is in Buin, and also hospitals, because the United Sudan knows that that land is a Mabaan land. Okay, there is no reason that the government of South Sudan isolated us and also denying us to have the access to resources as a oil county, oil producing county. There is no reason for that, and that is something that in near future the Mabaan people are going to challenge this. We know there is many books written about that area. There's no justification that the land should be taken from us. Petroleum oil, is not something that we can talk about. But what we are talking about is the equality on the distribution of wealth, and Mabaan should be considered as one of the oil producing county, not non-oil producing county. And this by itself is an injustice, is a marginalization, and is unacceptable. And we are going to fight for it and we are going to challenge it politically. We're going to challenge it in a way that the government has to change the policy toward the people of Mabaan. And that is a point that I want to make it here. The second point is the distribution of power. You know, we've been saying this for quite some time. When you look in the structure in Upper Nile State, you know, the larger tribes in Upper Nile State, they seems like controlling the state with the way that is not going to promote peace and justice in Upper Nile State. And they also isolated Mabaan and Koma to be, you know, one of, you know, the tribes that have the right into the power that's supposed to be given in Upper Nile State, you know. So if you look at the historical background, the governor, you know, all the time comes from the larger tribes, and that's the problems. You know, it is not about the larger tribes can rule the state peacefully or fairly. This by itself tells that how, you know, the problems is going, how, you know, how the problem is going on in Upper Nile State. Larger tribes become the bigger challenge for the unity of the state of Upper Nile. Larger tribes become the, you know, part of violence in Upper Nile State. Therefore, any governor that comes from the larger tribes, it is a mystery. Okay, never bring solutions, never bring peace in the country, and that is something that we see is happening in the Upper Nile State. And Mabaan and Koma, they have been isolated. You know, they have not been given a chance to rule the state. You know, simply because of the mentality of tribes, larger tribes in the state, that, you know, we are the rulers. You know, this is something that, and they are not bringing anything. There is no development happen, because you cannot rule a state by the mentality that you are a larger tribe. You cannot rule the state in that way. You have to rule the state based on the knowledge, based on the understanding, based on, you know, the dreams that you want to do fairly for the people of Upper Nile State. And that should be the assets of our leadership styles in Upper Nile State. But what we see now is the larger tribes claiming that they are the rulers, while they are destroying the state. They are destroying the public, you know, social fabric of our people in the state, and it is not going to bring peace in Upper Nile State completely, unless they need to change the mentality. You know, we are the larger tribes should rule the state, you know, and that is my own perspective. The other perspective I see is that, you know, when we talk about don't marginalize any minority tribes, we are talking about, look at the Mayut, you know, our brothers, Koma people, they almost in the extent to be, you know, stimulated in the culture that are not theirs, you know, and their land has been taken from them. They have not been given a county. You know, you cannot substitute a minority tribe to other, you know, that is by nature is a human right violation. You cannot do that. So if we look at Mayut, it seems like Mayut is not a place of Koma anymore. And that is something that somebody has to question. Somebody has to talk about it, you know. You cannot talk about justice when you are stimulating the minority tribes living among you. You also cannot talk about justice when you injustice when you become the factor of assimilation of other minority tribes in Upper Nile. What is happening in Mayut is unacceptable, and we also, the Mabaan people, are going to challenge that, because our link with Koma will push us to talk about it. When the minority tribes should be given, you know, living with you, you need to consider their culture. You need to consider, you know, give them right, give them, you know, whatever, because that land by itself is a land of Koma. You can talk about, you know, Dajo, you can talk about One King, you can talk about, you know, Mayut, and you also talk about Pagak. Those areas are Koma areas. You know, there is no doubt. Even our brothers there, they know this very, very well. But what I am against is the assimilation of minority tribes into other cultures. That is completely wrong. You know, and I want them to know this. The other aspect that we also would like to challenge is the representation in the national unity government. We know that is a tribal government in nature, in the government of South Sudan. So we, the Mabaan people, we are frustrated with the way we have been denied to have opportunities like other South Sudanese in the national unity government. 95% since our people joined Bilfam in 1984, at the end of 1984, Mabaan never, rebelled against the SPLM. Mabaan stood with the people of South Sudan and liberated the country, particularly when you talk about the Southern Bull Nile. Mainly, the battalion that was controlling the Southern Bull Nile were Mabaan people and Udu. They fought this war. They fought for the independence. But when it comes to the distribution of cake, we see Kir doesn't want to accept the Mabaan people. He denied Mabaan completely and trying to marginalize our people to have the power sharing. This is by itself, it is unacceptable, and we want President Kir to change this habit. Mabaan fought enough, okay? If you compare to other tribes in Upper Nile State, Mabaan also participated heavily, okay? And they never been disobedient against the SPLM. They fought for our country. They fought, like any other South Sudanese, and they have a right to power in Juba. Isolation of Mabaan into the key, to have key position is unacceptable, and we are calling for the government of South Sudan to rethink very carefully. We have a chance. There is a chance in Mabaan to make noise and also to complain about this. You cannot isolate the whole tribes, not to have a benefit. Some of the people that hold in key position, they never fought for this country. Okay? Mabaan fought for this country as like any other South Sudanese, particularly in the southern Bull Nile, were mainly controlled, by the Mabaan people and Malik Agar by then. So we are asking Kir to change the ways marginalizing the people of Mabaan. We see that and we understand the marginalization, and we cannot tolerate anymore. Power sharing, Mabaan has a right to keep position like anybody else in South Sudan. Because it is a representation, the face of your tribes. If your tribes are, like if your tribe has been isolated, what do you think Mabaan will think about it? They will think negatively about the government while they are supporting the government, and that's something that we see, and that's the frustration we see within our people as I speak. The government of South Sudan need to change this. Not only the government of South Sudan. Some of us, like myself, we've been in the SPLM-IO from the inception of the SPLM-IO in 2013, at the end of the 2013 and 2014. We never change anything. I, myself, and some of the people, we never change it. Until now, we are vocal enough, and the supporters and members of the IO for good. But when it comes to the distribution of cake, we feel like we betrayed our people. Okay, we feel like we betrayed our people. We went with somebody who doesn't want to consider us, you see, and he doesn't want to consider our views. You see, we sent so many documents to him. Okay, what do you think? What do you think? I've been with the SPLM for a long time, some of us, and when it comes to the power, distribution of power sharing, immediately we have been isolated, not given anything. You see, what do you think the reaction of our people? They will insult us. You went with Dr. Riek Machar and you have not been given anything. I'm not saying something bad, because personally I see that. I feel the heat that Mabaan people, they are blaming me. You went with Dr. Machar, and now when it comes to the key position, you have been not given anything. You see, and that is something in any human nature. And I'm saying this because I want leaders in South Sudan. You need to change. Any tribes, any person participating with you, you need to consider. You don't know, politics change. anytime. And politics goes with the beliefs of the people. What we see among our people, the challenges that we see, it is growing so fast. And that's why I need to speak up. I need to challenge this so that the government of South Sudan, including the vice president, they have to know isolation and injustice that has done to Mabaan people is unacceptable. And there is a growing concern that the talks of Mabaan have two options. One is to have an administrative area that only focus on Mabaan and Koma people, or Mabaan also has an option to say it is enough. We have to place the Mabaan land under Southern Bull Nile, and that is something some of us, some of us thinking that it is not going to happen if the government of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, and the chairman Dr. Machar, they need to act fast, involve some of the Mabaan leaders in the government system, to avoid this. And you know very well Sudan is moving very fast, and there is a historical facts about Mabaan land related to Sudan. But we denied Sudan, in 1953 when Uduk was taken back to Southern Bull Nile, and Mabaan remained in Upper Nile because we want to remain with our brothers South Sudanese, you see. So if that wounds open up again by the marginalization that we see, 1953 issue will come up again, and it is going to be bad for South Sudan. It is going to be bad for whoever think that Mabaan should not be given a chance to rule Upper Nile or to participate in the national unity government. So these are the options that I'm giving. I know many people might look at this video and they can see how frustration Mabaan, injustice is unacceptable, distribution inequality on the distribution of wealth against Mabaan people is unacceptable. We want a fair distribution of wealth. Mabaan is an oil producing land and must be considered as an oil producing country. The government of South Sudan shouldn't give them as a non-oil producing country. That is the main point. You see, it is unacceptable and we will not tolerate it. So I hope this video will reach our leaders and they should consider this. This is what is happening in Mabaan. We are not like Mabaan that has been silently isolated. We can challenge this, and the good news is all the Mabaan in diaspora, we are on this. We are working hard to make sure that the voice of our people should be heard and end the marginalization and inequality of distribution of wealth, particularly in the areas of petroleum. And thank you. See you guys next time.